Hey y'all, good morning. Today's morning devotion is from John chapter 11, verses 38 through 44. It's like a continuation of yesterday, but really just honing in on Jesus actually raising Lazarus and bringing him out of the tomb. So when this happens, right? So Lazarus died, he was put in a tomb, a stone was put in front of the tomb to seal it up, to seal it off. That's like an indication that, hey, that tomb, good morning, that tomb is being laid to rest, right? No one is intending to go back into that place once the stone is placed there. So there's a couple things that have to happen in order then for Lazarus to come out. And one of those things is that the stone has to be removed, right? And when the stone is removed, Martha is like, yeah, Jesus, it's going to smell when that happens. He's been in there dead and like decomposing for 4 days now. And Jesus is like, hey, didn't I tell you that like you would see the glory of the Lord? And she's like, okay, fine. And she decides to listen, and they move the stone out of the way, and then Jesus speaks into the tomb and is like, Lazarus, come out. And Lazarus comes out, and he's still wrapped in like his grave clothes. And then they're like, Jesus is like, get those clothes off of him. And they take the clothes off. So there's a couple different elements here when we're talking about resurrecting what has died, right? And some things for us to think about it is what this means for us and for our life. I'll get into my life in a second, but when there are things that have died that with like glory inside that God can still get the glory out of, if we bring those things and lay them before the Lord, and he knows and he sees like God will be glorified by the resurrection of this, and there's a process, there are some things that we have to go through in order for that thing to actually be resurrected, right? So we have to get rid of the stone. I don't know what your stone is. I don't know what that indicator is, or what's been placed there to signify like I'm no longer going back to this, or I'm no longer returning this. It could be like a change in mindset or a mental block that we put up. It could be a vow of silence that we've taken or we've like unknowingly agreed to. It could be breaking that, could be removing our stone. It could be like reaching out to that person we said we'd never talk to again. I don't know, but if there's something that God can get glory in that has died that we're no longer giving any attention to, then there's going to have to be an undoing of whatever barrier we've set up. But then when we do that, then there may be some unpleasantness. Maybe if there's a dream that we've put on the back burner or something that we have laid to rest, right? That unpleasantness perhaps could be a learning curve. Man, I haven't worked on this for like 20 years. Best believe 20 years later, 20 years of time passed, there's going to be a learning curve when we try to resurrect that dream, when we try to go back and God is finally reviving that passion, that fire that he had placed. There's going to be some catching up that we have to do, some familiarizing of ourselves with things. And there may be some feelings of discomfort and trying to become aware of that, what we used to be so passionate about, but that has changed now. When whatever your thing is that's in the tomb is revived, there's probably going to be some remnants that need to be discarded. I was thinking of like, you know how you write down your ideas and your things that you want to do? Maybe some dates need updating, right? Clearly, I did not hit this benchmark. Maybe I said by this time I would be doing this, and that time is long past. So maybe I need to get rid of the old evidence that this thing I had laid it to rest and update it so that now it's a present reality for my life, right? Maybe we need to change our language and how we're talking about something. Instead of referring to it through a lens of the past, we're using present and future language so that it's our present reality. There's all of these different factors that are involved in this resurrection. But let's remember, we're not just resurrecting any and every old thing. We're resurrecting the things that God can be glorified by, the things that God receives glory more from them being alive and active than he does from them being dead and gone. And none of these things are going to happen. Nothing is going to be resurrected without us being obedient to God in that process. Now, that was good for me at first, right? And then Jesus, I walked away, I went on with my morning, and then Jesus hit a little different. And he was like, what if we were Lazarus, right? Like, what if I'm Lazarus and I'm dead in the tomb, and then all of a sudden this tomb gets rolled away and there's light shining in. So now instead of looking at the situation from the outside in, let's flip and put ourselves in, right? Like, God was just speaking to me about like parts of myself that have died, like parts of myself that I have laid to rest. Instead of thinking of it as like some external thing, some dream, some passion, some relationship, some friendship, some goal that we've had, instead of thinking externally, there's an opportunity here for us to look inwardly and internally to see like, man, what part of me may I have laid to rest, right? What part of me may have died along the way or along the journey? What part of me does God receive more glory through reviving, through that part of me staying dead? And we need to look and look around, look at the people we have, because we need some Marys and some Marthas who are paying attention enough to our life to be able to see when that fire goes out, or when that spark wanes, or when that passion dies down, who can begin praying on our behalf, like, Jesus, help them, they're about to give up. Or Jesus, help them, they don't have the same compassion they once had. They don't have the same care for others that they once had. We need some people around us who can take the parts of us that have died, the light that they saw go out in our lives, and bring that before Jesus. If we don't have those people in our life, like the part of us that's here listening, the part of us that's here hearing, the part of us who has figured out how to still function, can then take those unfunctioning parts, those parts that we have laid to rest, and lay them before the Lord for God to move in our situation. But if we're the person who needs reviving, if there's a part of us that is no more, if our light has gone out, or our fire has been extinguished, or our hope is gone, or we've given up, we've let go, like, there's opportunity to have a life where it used to be. There's no point in us being alive and like breathing if we're not going to live the fullness of the life that God has for us. There is no point in us getting up each and every day to drag a dead weight around. If God can get glory out of our life, then we should give him the opportunity to do so. We can be alive and dead at the same time. And I think too many of us are walking around that way. But instead, there's an opportunity for God to breathe new life into us, for God to revive the things that can glorify him, that we may have been okay discarding and leaving behind. So perhaps we're actually the ones, maybe not our whole self, maybe not every aspect of who we are, but perhaps there are some parts of us that we've been okay laying to rest, right? Or maybe we're not okay laying it to rest, and like we really miss this part of us. We miss who we used to be. I'll talk about that in a second. But we need to invite God into that situation to breathe new life there. We just need Jesus to get involved. We can't do it. We don't have any breath in ourselves to breathe into something, but God does. And when he does, we need to make sure that we're obedient to the instructions that he gives. So we have an opportunity to live life and to live it completely. I think for me personally now, one of the aspects of my life that I had laid to rest is like the sense of like freeness and like being carefree or being adventurous and having fun. And I think when I really started taking my faith seriously, I laid down that part, that adventurous and carefree nature, because I didn't know how that translated into Christ, right? I knew what it looked like in secular society. I knew what that looked like in the world, but I knew like that can't be here in my walk with God. So I laid that part of my personality to rest. And this morning, God was just speaking to me about that. Like, when God resurrects parts of us, he's resurrecting us, the core of who he created us to be. So we don't have to take the dead stuff that's attached to our identity found in him. When he called Lazarus out, he told them to take the grave clothes off, and Lazarus came out. I think for me specifically, and perhaps for all of us, like there are some parts of us that die when we transition from old to new life. But sometimes the core of who we are gets put to death, as well as the behaviors and as well as the actions and as well as the mindsets, when God wants to resurrect who we are and leave the worldliness in the grave. So God is working on me and teaching me and showing me like what an adventurous spirit looks like in the kingdom, right? What being like willing to just go out there and just do looks like when it's being done for God and not for things of the world. God is showing me that that same core of who I am can exist now in my walk with him, like from my old life, but not the same as my old life. I hope that's making sense, you guys. But like, I don't have to lose that part of me just because I'm saved. Like, nah, it's just the core of me stays, and God will show me what that newness and walking that out looks like as I'm journeying with him. But yeah, so I don't want us leaving any glory in the grave, y'all. We need to ask God to come on in and help us to revive and resurrect those core parts of us, or those core dreams and passions that maybe we've laid to rest. And if we don't have anyone praying on our behalf, y'all, we're it, right? Let's get on our knees and pray and invite God into our situation. I hope you guys have a great and wonderful day today. Bye, y'all.